Do you know who designed the iconic Sydney Opera House? Let's take a journey back to the afternoon of January 29, 1957, at the Art Gallery of NSW in Sydney. In a room full of anticipation, the premier Joe Cahill stood before an excited crowd, ready to announce the winner of the competition to design a national opera house. The envelope was opened, and the name read out was one no one expected: a young, unknown Danish architect named Jorn Utzon. At just 38 years old, Utzon's design had triumphed over more than 200 other entries, a feat that was nothing short of extraordinary. The judges were effusive in their praise, declaring that Utzon's design presented a concept of an opera house, which is capable of becoming one of the great buildings of the world. A sentiment that, as we now know, was incredibly prophetic. But as many stories of great success go, this one too was not without its fair share of drama. Utzon's bold, sculptural vision, the one that we now associate with the iconic Sydney skyline, was nearly consigned to the pile of rejects. There is no precise record of how the winning design was finally chosen. The accounts of that day vary, with stories suggesting that Eero Saarinen, a judge in the competition, was underwhelmed by the shortlisted entrants and pulled Utzon's entry out of a pile of discarded designs. Saarinen saw something in Utzon's design that others had overlooked and declared it the obvious winner. Whether this anecdote is true or not, the fact remains that Utzon's design was chosen, and the rest, as they say, is history. In that moment, Jorn Utzon, a man unheard of until then, was propelled into the international spotlight. His bold vision had managed to capture the imagination of the judges, and soon, the world. But little did he know that his journey was just beginning. Jorn Utzon, a man unheard of until that moment, was now the designer of a future world-renowned building. The winning design, however, received mixed reactions from the public. A radical vision that thrilled architects, Jorn Utzon's design for the Sydney Opera House was met with a less unanimous response from the general public. From bemusement to outright bewilderment, the public's reactions were as varied as they were colorful. Some likened the design to a Danish pastry, a nod to Utzon's nationality perhaps, while others saw in it the armored shell of an armadillo. There were those who perceived it as a disintegrating circus tent, a symbol of transient and fleeting spectacle. Still, others saw a fantastical resemblance to the Loch Ness Monster, or an insect that had crawled out from under a log. But beneath these varied interpretations and comparisons lay an architectural vision that was deeply rooted in Utzon's personal history and worldview. Born to a naval architect and director of a local shipyard, Utzon was no stranger to the world of design and the sea. He was a keen sailor himself, and it was these maritime influences that would come to shape his vision for the opera house. Even though he had never set foot in Sydney, Utzon studied maritime charts of the city's harbor, drawing inspiration from the sailboats that dotted its waters. His design was a tribute to these sailboats, a striking scheme that echoed their billowing sails. However, the inspiration for the final roof design came not from sails, but from something much simpler and more organic: the segments of an orange. This surprising revelation, confirmed by Utzon himself in 1992, added another layer to the complexity and uniqueness of his design. From the billowing sails of Sydney's boats to the segments of an orange, Utzon's design was as unique as it was unprecedented. A Danish pastry, an armadillo, a circus tent, the Loch Ness Monster, an insect, call it what you will. There's no denying that Utzon's design was a bold and daring vision that forever changed the face of Sydney. Utzon's design was not solely inspired by maritime themes but also by his travels. As an ardent explorer, he found inspiration in the most unlikely of places. One such inspiration came from his journeys to Mexico, where the ancient Mayan ruins of Chichen Itza left a profound impact on him. Picture this: a city of stone rising from the verdant jungle, its grandeur etched in every weathered stone. Utzon was deeply moved by the way these structures harmonized with nature, how they sat atop wide horizontal platforms, seemingly floating amidst the greenery. He envisioned the Sydney Opera House in a similar vein, a magnificent structure perched on a broad podium, in perfect harmony with the surrounding waters, as if it were a natural extension of the landscape itself. This vision, influenced by the ancient Mayan architecture, was a stark departure from conventional architectural norms. It was bold, it was daring, and it embodied a spirit of innovation that was quintessentially Utsun. Despite the initial controversy and a somewhat mixed public reaction, Utsun's design began to gain recognition. The judges were captivated by the audacity of his idea and the sheer originality of his concept. His design was eventually chosen as the winning entry, and Utsun, the once unknown Danish architect, found himself catapulted into the limelight. His reward for this extraordinary feat? A sum of £5,000, a modest amount considering the grandeur of his vision. But the true reward lay elsewhere. He was commissioned as the chief architect for the ambitious Sydney Opera House project, a role that would forever etch his name in the annals of architectural history. From an unknown architect to the designer of one of the world's most iconic buildings, Jørn Utsen's journey is a testament to the power of bold, innovative vision. His story serves as a powerful reminder that art and architecture are not merely about creating structures, but about shaping experiences and transforming the very way we perceive the world around us.